back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So I am here today to do a book review, and the book I'm going to be reviewing is super shiny. It's called Cephrael's Hand and it's by Melissa MacPhail. It is the first book in the Pattern of Light and Shadow series, and this is a book that I discovered because of Audible. Audible is always recommending me different titles, and this is one that continually popped up. Also, I then had a subscriber who recommended this series to me, so I decided I would give it a go, and I did listen to this on audio. But then I loved it so much that I bought myself a copy. This is what I would describe as a epic fantasy and high fantasy in one. It has a lot of magic in it, although the magic does not come in quite as much in the first half. It is very, very prevalent in the second, and I do think there are hints of it in the first. We follow multiple different characters, but there are three major ones. The first one comes from a race of adepts who are slowly dying out in this world, and there are very few people left from this race, but they are kind of ancient people and beings who have lots of powers and who adhere to different magical systems. They know a lot more about the world than most of the humans in this world, and they are definitely dying off slowly. So we follow a character called Bjorn and we follow a character called Rain, and together they're trying to kind of navigate what is going on with the adepts and find out a bit more about why they're vanishing and how they can potentially stop this from happening. So that was one of the storylines. I do think that one was probably the hardest to grasp, and it took me the longest to kind of get into, but it was very, very interesting, and I have a feeling it's going to come back in force in the next books. The other two characters and the other two plot lines I found much easier to get into and much more exciting from the get-go. The first of them is Ian, who is a young prince, and he is the last heir to the Eagle throne. His father and mother have been estranged for many, many years, and a lot of his brothers have slowly been killed off or died in various different assassination attempts. Ian and his one remaining brother are journeying back to where his father lives after many, many years, and they are hoping to reunite the family. Even though his mother's estranged, they're hoping to reunite and hopefully bring a bit more order and sense to the throne. But on the way back, his brother is assassinated and he is left in complete disarray. He is kidnapped by a shade who is kind of a magical creature of this world, and all of his fellows who were with him are slaughtered or abandoned and have their minds wiped or have instructions put into their minds, and it's very terrifying for our young prince. He later meets some other characters who help him to get out of his trouble, but the journey from coming onto land and being captured and attempted assassination happening are pretty tumultuous, really exciting and very easy to get into. We also follow a character who is called Trell of the Tides, and Trell's story was a little bit more abstract, I would say. He is a character who doesn't really know much about his past. He kind of woke up one day on a beach and was rescued by people who lived there, but he didn't remember anything of his past, and he also doesn't really know where he came from at all. He has the ability to learn and pick up lots of different languages, and there are times in his life where things just seem to happen for him or unlock in his mind, and he doesn't really know why, but he knows it's associated to his past somehow and what happened to him. And so he decides, after a long amount of service to the people who rescued him, that he would like to find out about his past, and he goes on a kind of mission attempt, I suppose, a quest to find out about who he is and where he might have come from. Along the way, he meets lots of different types of people from various different parts of the world, including the desert people and including bandits and robbers, people who have associations with mages and magicians and various other types. And he is kind of looked at funny by a lot of these people. They judge him, they think that they know him, and some of them definitely do know where his ancestry lies. But Trell is determined to find out for himself, and he does not want anyone to interfere with that, so he is going on this quest to find out about himself, whether everyone likes it or not. And we meet various other characters along the way. Two of the characters that I most enjoyed, or three I suppose, included Tanis, who was a young servant and truthseer. He is in training to become a truthseer. He is definitely a character who's quite pure of heart, he's quite genuine, he's quite naive. He's a bit younger than some of the other characters, and I think that gives him his charm, but he was a really light-hearted, fun character for me to read about in the midst of some of the darker things that were happening. We also have Carrion, and Carrion is a character who I think reminds me of Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean films. I really loved the Pirates of the Caribbean films when I was younger, and Jack Sparrow was always my favourite character because of how silly and preposterous he is, and I think that Carrion kind of reminds me of him because he's also a pirate and he's very tricksy and he knows pretty much everything about everyone and how to escape from any situation. He's crafty, he's ingenious, but he's also a little bit silly and a bit foolhardy, and that kind of bites him on the bum sometimes. So he really did remind me of Jack Sparrow, and I really like that about him. Again, he brought a kind of lighter tone and sense of humour to the story that I wasn't expecting, but I really appreciated and enjoyed. The magic in this world is quite an interesting setup because there are 5 different strands of magic, and we know that there are different types of people who can wield each of the strands. At the time when the book starts, we know that a lot of the magic users can only wield 1 to 4, and there are not many 5th strand wielders. So we are kind of on the lookout for anyone who might have that ability throughout the story. Throughout the course of the book, a lot of the uses of the different strands are explained in more detail, and you meet characters who can utilise each of the different ones. We also have different types of people, so I mentioned before that shades are kind of these shadowy figures who are employed by we don't know who, and they kind of conduct what I guess would be associated with dark business. They do things like assassinations and kidnappings, but they all do it because of some sort of purpose, or at least that's what we're led to believe. We don't really know what that is for a lot of the story, but as the book goes on, we can infer some things about who might be behind the shades and their actions. We also have Xanthas, and Xanthas are kind of like these pretty badass characters who have a lot of knowledge. They are very well travelled. They have magical abilities of their own which are individual to them, and they can do things that a lot of normal people wouldn't be able to do. One of the main characters is a Xantha character, and he comes in at some pretty vital moments to help other characters in their stories. So I won't say too much more, but I really enjoyed his moments. I think they were really good. One of the big elements of this story is revolving around patterns, and people's souls in this world are actually made up of patterns that can be woven together or unwound. So there are moments where if someone gets badly hurt, then their pattern will fray, and we need an expert healer who is able to manipulate and repair patterns in order to bring that person back from possibly the brink of death, which I found so fascinating and I loved the concept for. We also have travelling through different kind of nodes to get places. We have sun dragons, which are just epic shape-shifting creatures that just seem so cool and very badass, so that was awesome. And yeah, I think the magic was strong. There were a lot of different strands and elements to it. The only slight complaint I would have with this book is that I would have liked a little key or something like that in the book to show you what the magics are and how they properly relate to one another, but I can remember most of them and I've only read the first book, so I think it works. It's just, it would have been nice to see that. Overall, besides the fact that I felt it was a slower beginning than the end, and it did take me a bit of time to work out who was who and what they were doing, it felt like a very strong start to the series, and it's definitely a series I will be continuing because I fell in love with the concepts, especially the magic, and some of the characters were just epic and wonderful, so I would definitely recommend this. I ended up giving it, I think, 4 out of 5 stars, just because I think there's going to be so much potential for the next books and there's room for improvement, but not much. It's a really good start to the series. I definitely recommend it, and I'd love to know if you plan on buying it either in physical or audio. Like I say, I recommend the audio and the physical because obviously I have both and I listen to the audiobook, so really great narration there. Let me know if you're planning on picking it up. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.